Nithyanandam. My name is Sri Nithya Ashutoshananda, and I am a brahmachari of the Nithyananda Sampradaya, the Nithyananda order. I am a sannyasi, so basically a monk, a Hindu monk, and I adopted this lifestyle 4 years ago in 2014. Swamiji blessed me with the opportunity of being initiated into the path of sannyas. I was born in 1988 in Montreal, Canada, in the province of Quebec, and I was born as a Catholic, but I evolved into Buddhism at around the age of 18, and at the age of 23 I shifted towards Hinduism and Swamiji. So I studied initially mechanical engineering technology for 3 years and a half, and then I went towards business and finance. I did not complete the study in business and finance because at that time my seeking started to happen, and I felt that the thought currents that I was listening to from my teachers in the university, I was no longer aligned to them, so I felt like this is not where I want to go. I need to find another direction in my life. And at that time I discovered Buddhism through martial arts, and I started to learn about the teachings of Buddha, and that actually led me to go to Vietnam and teach. So for 2 years I did teach a basic level of English in Vietnam, and further my understanding of Buddhism and all that. And I also started to shift towards Hinduism. I started to learn about different masters like Osho, Ramana Maharshi, and Buddha, of course. And so I evolved slowly towards Hinduism. And at one point my mother told me about Swamiji, and I shifted towards Swamiji. At that time in Vietnam, actually, I was living quite a good life, but I was not fulfilled. I felt that I came to the conclusion that I was not fulfilled while living in Canada. I lived a completely different life in Vietnam, and that also created a lack of fulfillment. So I came to the conclusion that the outer situation cannot feed me or feed my soul and feed my yearning for fulfillment. And so I started to turn within, and I started to entertain the idea of becoming a monk. Because also, like I said, when I started to follow Buddhism, I was very inspired by Buddhist monks. So this inspiration kind of grew on me, and at that point I really felt I wanted to, I was thinking of living a secluded life and meditating. And at one point my mother introduced me to Swamiji, and I decided to go to one of his programs. So I started to read one of the book that he made, which is Science of Living Enlightenment, and that really shifted me. When I read that book, I really felt like he knew what he was talking about, and he could guide me and give me the experience I was looking for in terms of enlightenment. And actually, even before meeting him, just after reading his book, I had so many experiences while reading the book that after reading the book I knew that I was going to ask to become a sannyasi, a Hindu monk, in his order, under his guidance, and follow his path for the sake of my enlightenment. So that is basically how I connected to Swamiji. After doing the program, I came here to the Adinam, and very quickly I had the opportunity to take the initiation of Brahmacharya, the lifestyle of sannyas, Hindu monk, and I took it. Obviously I jumped because I felt like that's what I wanted anyways, and that really impacted me in a very strong way. So I've been living this lifestyle for 4 years now, and one thing that I can really share and that I really experienced, the 5 vows of sannyas are very important for you to remain in the space where you can really dig deep with awareness inside your inner space and free yourselves from unconscious thought currents, ways of thinking that I used to entertain unconsciously and that were reflecting in my daily life and creating different forms of conflict. So we're talking about the 5 vows: non-violence, non-stealing, non-lying, living with minimal things, and living like God, or celibacy. And these 5 vows, from my experience, are mandatory to enter into the space, an intense space that allows you to reach a certain depth inside of you. Many times when we have forms of incompletions or resistances towards life, we will compensate with external things. That's where the vow of living with minimal things come into play. Because you decided to live this vow and you remain integrated to that decision, the desire to go towards external things and compensate for a form of incompletion is not entertained, and therefore the capacity for you to go and break through that incompletion becomes very apparent. It becomes very easy. So I really feel that one of the main vows that is very, very helpful in the path of enlightenment is living with minimal things. Another one that is very powerful is telling the truth. Swamiji said once that every time you lie, even if it's an unconscious, spontaneous lie, your heart becomes weak. And when your heart is weak, you do not have the power to engage with life from a powerful space. So that is also something that Swamiji made me experience. And after experiencing it, I realized the importance of living this vow. And ultimately, the main vow which makes me a brahmachari, which is celibacy, or actually this is the wrong translation of brahmacharya. It should be translated as living like God, like Swamiji translated it or mapped it in English. And brahmacharya is very, very important. We, for different reasons, are very strongly associated to the idea that we are male or female, and this identification is not allowing us to experience the pure consciousness, the super consciousness inside of us. And the vow of brahmacharya, like I was saying about the vow of aparigraha, living with minimal things, many times when we are incomplete and we seek attention to handle that that irritation in our inner space, we will go towards others to get some form of attention. But the problem is that when we go towards the other gender, the kind of attention we receive diverts us from the purpose for which we took this lifestyle. That's where brahmacharya is so important, because if you remain integrated to that vow and you do not seek the other gender's attention, you will be able to be in a space where you will have a breakthrough quicker. And when that breakthrough happens, your capacity to manifest your consciousness, your super consciousness, and powers of Paramashiva, the Shaktis that manifest when you are established in that super consciousness, manifest in a very strong way. Swamiji was saying Viryam is a very important quality to have. That is basically a very raw and a very raw decision to be ferocious with yourself and not allow to entertain incompletions and life negative thought currents. So this vow really helps with that. From my experience, I really saw how if you are not integrated to this, your space becomes less intense, and in that lack of intensity, your capacity to be aware of what is actually happening in your space is much less, and that does not allow you to have the breakthrough you're supposed to have. Whereas if you live the vow of brahmacharya and you are integrated to it, it will give you a certain space where you will identify these incompletions quicker, and you'll be able to ferociously get rid of it and establish yourself into that oneness with Swamiji, with the universe, with cosmos, Paramashiva. So these were the first main things that I realized how this lifestyle is ultimate. I personally feel that Swamiji said Sanyas is the royal path to enlightenment. He said yes, it is possible to get enlightened without the path of Sanyas, but it's like crossing an ocean by swimming. I mean, it is possible, but who does that, right? Sanyas is just basically flying across the ocean in a private jet, and that is why he says it's the royal path to enlightenment. So these vows, they are responsible for creating a space, a vatavarana, where you will be successful fast, and you will be able to experience this intimate romance, this oneness with Swamiji, with the cosmos, with Paramashiva, and that leads to that ultimate manifestation of enlightenment and radiating the state, space, powers, and being of Paramashiva. So for me, I felt brahmacharya, taking this lifestyle was definitely the best decision I could do. When I was in Vietnam, I already came to the conclusion that relationships will not fulfill me. And after living this lifestyle for 4 years, I am 100% convinced that this lifestyle is definitely the most auspicious ground, fertile ground for you to manifest the flowers of enlightenment, of super consciousness, and radiate and help to cause the reality of others and do the work that a monk is supposed to do, taking responsibility for society and raising others so that we can shift the consciousness of the universe, of the society, and ultimately the world, and give a breakthrough, super conscious breakthrough, like Swamiji says, to humanity, which is the purpose of this lifestyle and Swamiji's mission. So with this, I thank you all I'll see you guys soon. Nithyananda.